but when someone with Ben Cousins' drug history gets admitted to hospital, obviously eyebrows are going to be raised. You grabbed the front page of The Age today, however, and you'll read an article by Caroline Wilson in which she suggests that Ben Cousins, this may be unrelated to his gastric problems, that Ben Cousins has a drinking problem. Caro joins us. Good morning, Caro.
Hey, Ross. Hey, John.
Hey, tell us about this.
Well, it came to my attention probably at the start of the year, Ross, that the club was a bit concerned about Ben Cousins drinking too much on occasion. They didn't describe it as a drinking problem, but they were concerned that he was having, well, I think benders is probably too strong, that he was indulging in binge drinking, and given that his career has already been shortened by a year and a half, and given that he's 31, and obviously injuries get worse as you get older, that it was probably not a good idea to drink too much because it was only going to shorten his career that had already been shortened. This sort of grew a bit stronger around the time that the rumours, as they were at the time, grew a bit stronger around the time he split with Ricky Nixon. Ricky's told quite a few friends that he was concerned about Ben Cousins' drinking and state on occasions. Of course, they had a nasty financial split as well. And no one at the club could tell me categorically that what has happened in the last few weeks is not related either to 10 to 15 years of, or probably 10 years of very, very unhealthy living off the field, or perhaps the fact that he's been drinking too much. And they had spoken to him on several occasions last year, the club, about his drinking, and most certainly around the time that he signed a new one-year deal with the club at the end of the year. And then there was an incident before Christmas that no one will tell me what happened, but something of a personal off-field nature happened, not to do with drug use, which ended up with the club giving him a bit of a rocket, the coaches giving him a bit of a rocket for his state of fitness.
Well, the club did speak to him late last year about his drinking problem, according to your article, but then...
They definitely did, John.
Yeah, but then after that, they signed him up and doubled his salary.
Well, they didn't see it to be an absolute disaster, and I think that they're getting increasingly worried about it. And the reason I think that, John, is because I'm hearing about it. When people at the club are openly sort of talking about it, you have to think that they must be worried because everything he has done has been so protected. And they would know better than anyone the way he's living because obviously they have enormous checks and balances in place to keep an eye on him.
And
and they weren't going to sack him because of his drinking. I mean, he had a pretty good year. He finished in the top 5 in the best and fairest. He certainly made a difference on the field, and they saw him as a great success story. I just wonder now, when it's all said and done, with the wisdom and benefit of hindsight, whether perhaps they would have taken him on. That's my sort of brutal assessment of the situation at the moment.
They described his gastric situation as unresolved, which I couldn't work out whether that means they didn't know what was causing it or the fact that it was a still continuing health problem. You getting any idea, Caro, about how long this is going to keep him out of the game?
Well, the club is saying that they now very much doubt he'll play in round 1. Because he's obviously now missed a bit of... He really responded to the rocket he got before Christmas, and he was super fit a few weeks ago. But now hasn't been able to play or train for quite a while. No, I haven't got any idea about what it is. I know that the doctor says it was gastroenteritis last week. It seemed very odd to me that you'd be hospitalised with that overnight, as he was last week, but the doctors and the club say that he has a very low pain threshold and responds really badly to painkillers because he's got a very high resistance now because of his drug abuse over the years. And of course, when he went off the painkillers over the weekend, it recurred. So I think it's an ongoing problem. I couldn't tell you any more than that.
Okay, Caro.
And I don't know whether it's because he's been drinking heavily in recent weeks, but you'd have to say that could be one reason.
Caller asked why, if you knew this 2 months ago, you didn't write it then.
Because it wasn't a problem then, and it was only a rumour then. And some of us do very well out of rumours, but some of us have to verify them.
Yeah,
which I did yesterday.
I don't know how you put up with the hard work. Caro, you'll be on with the lads at Sports Today from 6:30 tonight, by which time there may well be more news on this front.
Nice to talk to you both.
And there'll be some nurses at what hospital is it? The Epworth, isn't it? The nurses at the hospital saying, lucky us that he's got a gastric problem because it means that we get to stare at that Such Is Life tattoo on his beautifully chiselled torso.